What if the forgotten faces of history could look straight into your eyes, alive, vivid, and more real than ever? In this video, we've used cutting-edge AI restoration to breathe new life into rare portraits of extraordinary women, from Hollywood rebels to royal heirs and silent survivors. Because behind every vintage photo lies a story worth seeing and remembering, not just in black and white, but in full color and emotion. Edna Crawford, the lace-clad elegance of early 20th century Washington. In a delicate lace-trimmed dress with an enormous satin bow perched atop her carefully styled hair, a young girl named Edna Crawford sits with the kind of grace only the Edwardian era could expect from its daughters. Captured between December 1903 and March 1905 by the prestigious C.M. Bell Studio in Washington, D.C., this portrait is more than just a photograph. It is a crystallized glimpse into the ideals of a bygone society. With the help of AI restoration, Edna's features now emerge from the sepia shadows with stunning clarity. Her eyes, bright and observant, betray a quiet wisdom uncommon for someone so young. Her expression, calm yet purposeful, reflects a time when children were often posed as miniature adults, symbols of family pride and social refinement. For middle-class families in the early 19th century, such formal portraits weren't casual mementos, they were ceremonial. They symbolized progress, respectability, and legacy. In Edna's face, we see the values her society prized: modesty, discipline, and poise. Her carefully styled attire, likely handmade and lovingly prepared for the occasion, shows the effort that went into presenting a child as both innocent and proper. Today, thanks to digital rejuvenation, she lives again, not as a forgotten girl in an old photograph, but as a person whose presence still quietly commands attention. Evelyn Nesbit, the first American supermodel. Long before Instagram influencers and reality TV stars, there was Evelyn Nesbit, the original American icon of beauty and scandal. Crowned the it girl of her time and often referred to as the living embodiment of the Gibson girl, Evelyn's face became one of the most reproduced images in early 20th century America. She appeared on magazine covers, postcards, advertisements. Her allure was inescapable. With modern AI enhancement, Evelyn's delicate bone structure and expressive gaze take on a near cinematic vibrance. You can almost feel the texture of her cascading hair, the warmth in her cheeks, and the subtle tension beneath her poised expression. She looks like a dream, but her life was anything but. Maud Feely, the silent screen's ethereal muse. Before the silver screen learned to talk, Maud Feely was already casting spells with her eyes. A star of both stage and silent film, Maud possessed a kind of ethereal beauty that seemed almost otherworldly. With her long wavy hair, angelic features, and a wardrobe filled with lace, velvet, and florals, she became a muse for early American cinema's romantic ideal. Born in 1883, Maud's career began in the theater, performing Shakespearean roles with dramatic flair. As the film industry emerged, she effortlessly transitioned to the screen, appearing in dozens of silent films. In an era that demanded more from a glance than from dialogue, Maud's ability to convey longing, strength, or sorrow in a single frame set her apart. Thanks to AI-powered restoration, her portraits now sparkle with renewed vitality. You can see the intricate embroidery of her dresses, the softness of her hair, and, most importantly, the nuance in her expression. There's a melancholy elegance in her gaze, the kind that draws you in and keeps you wondering what she was thinking. Sitka Lasah, the voice of her people. Some portraits don't whisper beauty, they roar legacy. Sitka Lasah, born Gertrude Simmons. Born in 1876, was a Yankton, Dakota writer, educator, and fierce advocate for indigenous rights. Her life was one of profound duality. She moved between two worlds, the native traditions of her people and the Western education system that sought to erase them. In every image of Sitka Lasah, there is a commanding presence. Dressed in traditional native garments or Western attire, she never looked anything less than regal. AI restoration now brings her face into sharp relief. The proud lift of her chin, the intensity in her eyes, the strength carved into every line. She used her pen as a weapon, blending Sioux storytelling with English literary form to expose the injustices of government boarding schools and discriminatory laws. As co-founder of the National Council of American Indians, she fought tirelessly to preserve culture, dignity, and sovereignty for her people. Her beauty was not one celebrated by fashion magazines or Hollywood lights. It was a beauty born of intellect, courage, and deep spiritual conviction. In bringing her portrait back to life, we do more than honor a woman. We reclaim a voice that still resonates today. Lily Elsie England's Edwardian Darling. Across the Atlantic in the gilded theaters of Edwardian London, Lily Elsie reigned as the crown jewel of musical theater. With wide eyes, porcelain skin, and an air of delicate grace, Lily enchanted audiences in her breakout role in The Merry Widow, a performance that made her a household name across Britain. Her image became a cultural phenomenon. She adorned advertising cards, fashion plates, and souvenir programs. Everywhere you turned, there was Lily, stylized, glamorous, and seemingly untouchable. But AI restoration now allows us to see her not just as a celebrity of her time, but as a living, breathing woman. The revived portraits show every subtle detail: the gentle curve of her lips, the intricate lace of her gown, the quiet vulnerability beneath her stage-trained poise. And that vulnerability was real. Behind the fame lay fragile health, emotional struggles, and a gradual retreat from the public eye. Yet even as her star dimmed, her legacy endured. She represented the golden era of Edwardian entertainment, the blend of opulence and restraint, of fantasy and formality. With every enhanced image, we're reminded of how Lily helped define not just an age of fashion and theater, but of elegance itself. Clara Bow, the roaring beauty of the jazz age. Clara Bow was not merely a Hollywood star, she was the heartbeat of a generation. Dubbed the original It Girl, Clara captured the restless energy of the roaring 20s with every flutter of her expressive eyes and every flash of her irreverent grin. Born in Brooklyn in 1905, Clara rose from a tumultuous childhood marked by poverty and trauma to become the face of silent film's golden era. AI restoration breathes electrifying life into her vintage portraits. Her unruly curls, once blurred by age, now bounce with lightness and freedom. Her eyes gleam with fire, mischief, and vulnerability, a combination that made her irresistible on screen. Clara was the flapper incarnate, a symbol of rebellion and reinvention at a time when women were cutting their hair, shortening their skirts, and breaking societal molds. But beyond the dazzle, Clara's story was one of resilience. She navigated fame in an unforgiving industry and bore the weight of scrutiny that would break many. Even so, in every restored image, we see a woman who refused to be anything but herself. Clara Bow did not follow the jazz age, she defined it. Ada Overton Walker, the queen of the cakewalk. Graceful, commanding, unapologetically brilliant. Ada Overton Walker was a groundbreaking African-American vaudeville star who carved her name into a world that often tried to keep her silent. At the turn of the 20th century, she earned the title Queen of the Cakewalk, but her talent and influence extended far beyond a single dance. Her portraits, revived through modern AI, reveal a woman of elegance and strength. The richness of her dresses, the poise in her shoulders, and the quiet authority in her gaze speak volumes about a performer who was also an activist and mentor. She danced not just to entertain, but to elevate, to show the world that Black performers belonged on center stage. Ada was a force in an era of deep racial segregation, yet she managed to command respect across racial lines. She refused roles that reinforced stereotypes and instead redefined what it meant to be a Black woman in the spotlight. Today, her revitalized image does more than capture her beauty. It reignites her voice, reminding us of a trailblazer who danced with dignity and defied expectations with every step. Princess Ka'iulani, Hawaii's last hope. Princess Victoria Ka'iulani, the last heir to the Hawaiian monarchy, was both a royal symbol and a reluctant warrior. Born in 1875 to a Hawaiian princess and a Scottish businessman, she grew up between worlds, tutored in British elegance but rooted in the heritage of her island kingdom. Her story is not just one of beauty, but of profound loss and enduring pride. In her portraits, now sharpened and colored by AI, Kaiulani's refined features and gentle curls are rendered with heartbreaking clarity. Her serene expression carries the weight of her homeland's stolen sovereignty. When her kingdom was overthrown by American interests, the teenage princess left her sheltered life in Europe and sailed to Washington, D.C. to plead for justice. Her restored image tells of grace under pressure, a young woman standing alone before empires demanding to be heard. Though her pleas fell on deaf ears and she died tragically young, Kaiulani's defiant strength still radiates through every pixel. She remains a symbol of Hawaii's unbroken spirit, a princess who chose principle over privilege. Violet Jessup, the unsinkable survivor. Not all legends shine from the stage, some rise from the sea. Violet Jessup, an unassuming stewardess with steel in her veins, is remembered today as the woman who survived the sinkings of the RMS Titanic, the Olympic, and the Britannic. Born in Argentina to Irish parents in 1887, she began working for the White Star Line as a teenager and unwittingly wrote herself into maritime legend. In early portraits, Violet appears modest and composed, dressed neatly in her uniform, her expression serene but strong. With the help of AI restoration, her gaze is clearer than ever, a look of quiet resolve in a woman who faced death multiple times and returned stronger each time. She did not seek fame or fortune. Violet returned to work at sea even after surviving history's most infamous disasters. Her courage was not loud or showy, it was the steady kind, the sort that endures in silence. In a time when adventure and danger were considered a man's realm, Violet's story reminds us that true bravery often comes in the calmest of forms. The Countess of Castiglione, the camera's first muse. Before influencers, before selfies, before the world became a stage for self-curation, there was Virginia Oldoini, the Countess of Castiglione. A 19th century Italian aristocrat and the mistress of Napoleon III, she may have been royalty, but her true passion was image. She collaborated with pioneering photographers to produce over 400 portraits, many staged with dramatic costumes, symbolic props, and haunting expression. Thanks to AI restoration, those once faded photographs now appear strikingly modern. The elaborate gowns gleam with richness, the shadows play across her face with cinematic flair, and her eyes draw you in with almost hypnotic force. She was not just posing, she was directing, crafting an identity, performing femininity, and challenging the male gaze long before such ideas had a name. To many, she was eccentric. To us today, she was visionary. Through photography, she explored the intersection of beauty, power, and mortality. She used the lens not for vanity, but for legacy. Every image was a message. I see myself. I define myself. The Countess of Castiglione was not just the camera's first muse, she was its first master. Each of these women, whether royalty, performer, rebel, or survivor, lived in times that demanded they fit within tight boxes. Yet each one stepped beyond those lines, crafting a legacy that AI restoration now lets us experience with unprecedented intimacy. These portraits are more than just beautiful faces. They are living echoes of lives that shaped history, culture, and art. With every sharpened line, every clarified feature, and every color lovingly restored, these images do more than preserve the past. They resurrect it. They allow us to see these women not as distant figures lost to time, but as vivid individuals with dreams, scars, and stories worth telling again and again. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and let us know in the comments which historical figure you'd love to see brought to life next. Until then, stay curious.